Daniel Cormier has weighed in on the lightweight title picture, and he believes Paddy Pimblett is still one big win away from earning a championship opportunity. According to Cormier, while Paddy has made undeniable improvements and has momentum behind him, the timing isn't quite right for a title shot. Cormier argued that the fight that truly needs to happen next is Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan. Cormier explained that he understands why the UFC booked Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje, and he thinks a win over Gaethje would mean a lot. He stated that if Paddy were to defeat someone of Gaethje's caliber after everything he has already accomplished, then he would be completely convinced of Paddy deserving a title fight. He acknowledged that Pimblett has turned things around in his career, performed at a much higher level recently, and shown the type of evolution fans had been waiting for. Cormier praised Pimblett for how he handled his fight with Michael Chandler, calling it a performance unlike anything fans had seen from him before. However, Cormier emphasized that Ilia Topuria is a different kind of threat. He described Topuria as a savage and one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. Cormier also pointed out that Arman Tsarukyan is equally elite, adding that Tsarukyan has the skill set to compete with anyone in the world. For Cormier, the competitive level, the skill matchup, and the personal rivalry all make Arman versus Ilia the matchup that has to happen next. Cormier highlighted the tension between Tsarukyan and Topuria, noting that their interactions have been heated and personal. Topuria has claimed he slapped Tsarukyan recently, while Tsarukyan responded by calling the interaction exaggerated, saying Topuria merely touched his face. Cormier believes that this genuine animosity makes the fight easy to promote and ensures massive fan interest. Additionally, he believes both fighters are stylistically capable of giving each other serious problems, which creates an ideal championship narrative. Cormier said that what fans crave most from title fights is the sense that even the champion is in real danger. With Tsarukyan and Topuria, viewers would feel that the outcome is unpredictable and that both athletes have the ability to win. In his view, that is what defines great championship matchups. He concluded that once Paddy gets another high-level win and continues progressing inside the octagon, the timing for a title shot will be right. For now, the fight that makes the most sense for the lightweight title is Arman Tsarukyan versus Ilia Topuria. Merab Dvalishvili admitted that over time, Petr Yan has started to grow on him despite their heated rivalry. With their highly anticipated rematch set for UFC 323 next month, Merab reflected on how their relationship and his mindset have evolved since their first encounter. He recalled that their initial fight was surrounded by tension, constant bickering, and a real sense of personal animosity. At that time, he felt that losing to Petr Yan was absolutely unacceptable. He remembered telling people, "I can lose to anybody, but I cannot lose to Petr Yan. If there's only one guy the first cannot lose to, it's Petr Yan." That's how deeply the rivalry affected him. However, Merab explained that everything shifted after he won their first fight. "Once you defeat someone," he said, "your mindset changes. When that fighter continues to compete afterward, you start rooting for him because his success makes your victory look even better." He said that after their fight, Yan competed 3 more times, and Merab found himself supporting him during each of those performances, cheering him on and hoping he would win. In his words, when you beat somebody and then he wins later, it makes you look good too. He admitted that he talked a lot of trash leading up to their first fight, but over time he developed a genuine respect for Yan and even started to like him. It became harder and harder to stay angry. Then, when Petr Yan respectfully called him out for a rematch, Merab found himself unexpectedly conflicted. He said that Yan approached the challenge with complete professionalism and showed him respect, which made it difficult for him to return to the hostile mindset that typically fuels him before a fight. As Merab put it, "He called me out and he was very respectful. I was like, oh, now I need to be mad at him again." It's hard. Even though the mutual respect has grown, Merab understands that the rematch requires the same competitive fire that defined the first fight. While he now likes Petr Yan as a fighter and as a competitor, he also recognizes that once the cage door closes, friendship and admiration don't matter. The rematch will be another chapter in their rivalry, and both fighters are fully committed to proving who is better when it matters most. Ilia Topuria has confirmed that he will not be fighting in January, despite earlier rumors that he would headline the first UFC Paramount card. According to Alvaro Coinro, the situation has changed significantly over the past weeks. He explained that there have been private matters influencing the decision surrounding Topuria's next appearance, and fans should expect major developments in the lightweight division. Coinro emphasized that Topuria will not be returning in January and that February also appears highly unlikely. In his view, the most realistic expectation is that Topuria will compete in the spring. At the same time, new information has been circulating about the lineup for the first UFC Paramount card. It is now being widely rumored that Paddy Pimblett will face Justin Gaethje in what could be one of the biggest fights of their careers. Coinro stated that multiple reliable sources have told him the matchup set for UFC 324 is Pimblett vs Gaethje, and he believes it has strong potential to be the main event of the card. He added that the UFC seems to be positioning this bout as a title eliminator. According to Coinro's interpretation, the winner of Pimblett vs Gaethje will likely go on to face Ilia Topuria later in the spring or summer. The only scenario that could alter this trajectory is if Dustin Poirier is awarded a title shot against Islam Makhachev during International Fight Week or at the high-profile event rumored to be held at the White House. If Poirier receives that opportunity, it could further delay Topuria's return to the octagon or shift scheduling within the top 5. In this rapidly shifting picture, Arman Tsarukyan appears to be the odd man out in the short-term title discussion. Coinro acknowledged that Tsarukyan deserves to be next based on merit alone, as many analysts and fans agree he has earned the opportunity. However, merit does not always drive matchmaking, and the UFC seems to be leaning towards star-driven headliners and storylines that build momentum for future pay-per-view events. If Pimblett defeats Gaethje, it would create a massive fight with Topuria due to their history, contrasting personalities and the marketability of the matchup. And if Gaethje wins, a showdown with Topuria would also hold significant commercial appeal because of Gaethje's striking power and fanbase. For now, what is clear is that Ilia Topuria will not return early in the year, and his next opponent will most likely be determined by how the Pimblett vs Gaethje clash plays out at UFC 324. The lightweight division continues to evolve rapidly, and all eyes remain on the spring as the next benchmark for Topuria's comeback. John Anik believes that if Belal Muhammad wants to compete with the top welterweights in today's UFC landscape, he must lean more heavily on his wrestling. Speaking candidly, Anik explained that it can be difficult to critique someone who is such a close friend of the family, but when evaluating Belal's situation realistically, the path forward seems clear. According to Anik, Belal has openly acknowledged that there is still work to do if he wants to reach the highest level, and Anik interprets that as an understanding that major improvements are necessary, particularly in the wrestling department. Anik pointed out that Belal is already an outstanding striker, but in modern MMA, no one becomes a world champion as a one-dimensional fighter. The next generation of welterweights brings relentless pressure, grappling heavy styles, and dangerous finishing abilities. To deal with that wave, Anik believes wrestling must become the core of Belal's approach, not merely an added skill. In his view, Belal should take the striker versus grappler duality and flip it into a deliberate system. Use the striking not as the primary tool, but as a setup to force opponents into wrestling exchanges. He elaborated that the most successful welterweights in recent years have combined constant wrestling threats with striking that serves as an entry point for takedowns. For Belal Muhammad, striking should remain effective and sharp, but it should act as a means to an end, getting the fight to the ground where he can control, dominate, and potentially suffocate opponents. That, Anik argues, is where Belal has the highest ceiling. Anik also praised Belal for demonstrating self-awareness and honesty. Hearing Belal examine his own performances through a critical lens is, in Anik's opinion, a sign of maturity and championship mentality. Many athletes struggle to identify weaknesses in their game, but Belal appears willing to make uncomfortable adjustments rather than staying in a comfort zone. Anik believes that when Belal says there is more work to be done, he is acknowledging exactly this need, to sharpen his wrestling, to double down on the strengths that got him to the elite level, and to refine his striking into an efficient tool that creates opportunities rather than depending on it as the main path to victory. Ultimately, Anik thinks Belal Muhammad has all the traits required to remain competitive among world-class welterweights, but the strategy must evolve. If he roots his game in high-pressure wrestling and uses striking as a calculated setup rather than a standalone identity, he will be equipped to handle the toughest opponents in the division. Just weeks out from UFC 324, Umar Nurmagomedov has officially been booked to face Davison Figueiredo in a fight that carries significant implications for the division. A victory over Figueiredo would solidify Umar's position as one of the top contenders and place him firmly in line for a rematch with Merab Dvalishvili. Dvalishvili remains the only fighter in recent memory who has been able to make a competitive fight against Umar, as most other opponents have been decisively outmatched. With this matchup, Umar has the opportunity to prove that he belongs among the elite fighters in his division and demonstrate why he is considered one of the most dangerous prospects in MMA today. Merab Dvalishvili, fresh off his dominant victory over Corey Sandhagen, has been vocal in calling out Umar. In a recent interview with Kamaru Usman and Henry Cejudo, Dvalishvili criticized Umar for allegedly being fake on social media, claiming that he allows others to post tweets on his behalf. These comments have added a layer of personal tension to the matchup and have further raised the stakes for Umar. According to Umar, he takes full ownership of his words and actions online. He emphasized that he never allows his manager, friends, or family members to post messages or speak on his behalf, and he viewed Dvalishvili's remarks as highly disrespectful. Umar expressed particular frustration over being called a fake champion and not being respected as a legitimate title holder. He stated that the social media criticisms and public comments were disrespectful, not only to him personally but also to his standing in the sport. This fight against Figueiredo represents more than just a competition in the octagon. It is Umar's chance to defend his reputation, showcase his skills, and stake his claim as a top contender in the division. The stakes are amplified by the history between Umar and Merab, with fans and analysts keenly watching to see if Umar can prove himself against another high-level opponent before a potential rematch for the championship. In addition to the competitive implications, the fight carries significant narrative weight. Umar sees it as an opportunity to reaffirm his legitimacy as a fighter and champion, to silence critics, and to demonstrate his readiness for the highest level of competition. With both personal and professional stakes on the line, the matchup against Figueiredo promises to be a pivotal moment in Umar Nurmagomedov's career, and fans are eagerly anticipating the outcome as UFC 324 approaches.